Welcome to Cory's Stories. Are you ready to meditate with Cory?
Hi friend, don't forget to subscribe, say that you like the video, and also press the bell so that you get notifications every time I make a new video. If you love HEIDI, Cherry, and VAYA, or Tucker and Leo stories, you can now get exclusive stories on my Patreon account. Go to the links below the video and you can join HEIDI, Cherry, and VAYA Club or the Tucker and Leo Club and get exclusive stories with your names in them. I love you all so much. Enjoy the story. Bye, friend. Are you ready to meditate with Cory? Lay down in your bed and get super comfortable. Make sure that everything is just right in your room. The lights. You're wearing your comfortable pajamas. And everything is good to go so that you can relax your body and let go of your busy day. Casey was laid in bed. He couldn't sleep. He was dreading the fact that he had to go to the dentist tomorrow. He'd had a toothache for about 2 weeks, and it was finally time for his appointment in the morning. But he was so nervous and stressed about it. He was nervous because there'd been a couple of times in the past where Casey had gone to the dentist, and things had been a bit scary. It had to have a filling before, and the sound of the drill and the splashing water and all the different noises made him really, really scared. It wasn't like it was painful or anything, but it was just scary. He got to the point where just walking in a dental office made his anxiety come on. The smells, the lights, everything about the place just freaked him out. And everyone was always so nice and friendly. But still, he just really didn't like the dentist. Because he was nervous about tomorrow, he couldn't fall to sleep. He'd been trying for the longest time and he was exhausted, and he had a toothache. He reached over and turned his Cowboy lamp on. The light bulb shone brightly through the Cowboy shade, and all the cutouts made shapes on the walls. And as it span around on its base, he watched the cowboys walk around his bedroom wall, as if he was watching real cowboys walking on a range or something, riding on their horses, one by one. Casey started to take some deep breaths. By the time he got to the third deep breath, he could feel his body fall into a different world. He fell as if he was falling backwards through the sky. He fell and fell and fell until he fell into his past life as Casey the cowboy once again. Casey the cowboy was in the barn. He was brushing Meadow with a horse brush, making her mane nice and smooth, making her coat all shiny He was brushing and brushing and brushing, miles away in his mind, and he kept occasionally stopping and rubbing the side of his face. Casey, the cowboy, had had a toothache for about a month. The tooth was rotten, and it was getting really, really painful. It was giving him really bad headaches, and it was a constant pain in his face. Meadow was miles away herself, eating hay out of a bucket that was hooked up against the wall of the barn, enjoying the fact that Casey was brushing her. Lucius, one of the workers there on the ranch, walked in and dropped a big bale of hay down on the ground. Lucius noticed that Casey was rubbing his face. "You okay there, Casey?" Casey turned around. "No, this tooth's killing me." "I can help you with that," said Lucius. Casey said, "You can?" Lucius said, "Yeah, sure. Give me a minute." Lucius disappeared for a while, and then when he came back, he had a pair of pliers in his hand. Casey said, "Oh, no, it's fine." Lucius said, "Well, it's either this or it's a 2-day ride into town. And then the dentist's going to do the same thing. He's just going to pull it out. What's it going to be?" Casey knew that Lucius was right. It did take 2 days on a horse to get into town. It was a horrible ride as well. It wasn't a fun ride. And he hated going there. And he had been there before. And he was right, the dentist just pulled the teeth out because back then, in this time, there wasn't very much more they could do about it. Casey thought about it. "Okay," he said. He sat down on a wooden bench there in the stable. And Lucius spotted the bad tooth straight away, took a hold of it with the pliers, and just started pulling. There was no anesthetic or anything. He was just pulling, really pulling hard on this tooth. And Casey's head was moving around, and Lucius was pushing his feet up against the barn wall to give him more traction so that he could pull back. It took some doing, but he eventually got Casey's rotten tooth out. It was not a pleasant experience. But once Casey got over the shock, he realized he was in less pain, and there was so much to do. He had to feed all the animals. He had to go check on the cattle. He had to check the wire fences around the perimeter. He didn't have time to stop and feel sorry for himself about his tooth. He had to just keep going. He had too many things that were relying on him. His cow, the pigs, the chickens. The next morning when Casey woke up, he remembered everything about his experience as Casey the cowboy the night before. The first thing that he felt was gratitude. "Thank goodness I don't live in the 1800s, he thought to himself. Casey jumped up and got dressed, went downstairs, had his breakfast, went back upstairs, brushed his teeth really well, flossed, mouthwashed, went back downstairs, got in the car and went to the dentist. When he first walked in the dentist office, the smell of the place made his tummy go funny, and his heart started to beat a bit faster. But he took a big deep breath. The smell of the place, the lights, the sounds, everything that normally bothered him, he wasn't going to let bother him today. Not after what he'd just experienced as Casey the Cowboy. All the assistants were super sweet, smiley and friendly, just like normal. He was so grateful to sit in a very clean, comfortable chair that leaned all the way back. He was so grateful for the TV on the ceiling, for the cartoons he could watch and listen to with his headphones on. He was super, super grateful when they did numbing cream on his jaw, the inside of his mouth on his jaw, and it tasted like bubblegum. And it made the fact that he couldn't feel the anaesthetic needle go in because it had numbed all his gum. He was super grateful for that. He was so grateful that all the side of his face went numb. And he couldn't feel a thing, and his mum kept laughing at him in the waiting room while it was going numb, because his smile looked funny. And then when he went back in, he was so happy and grateful to see the big, brown, friendly eyes of his dentist. They looked trustworthy, and they were big and soft and round, and they reminded him of baby seals. He was so grateful for the fact that he couldn't really hear very much because he had his earphones on and he was listening to SpongeBob SquarePants. He didn't feel any pain. The dentist was happy and quick and efficient. He was so, so grateful that he got a free toothbrush and toothpaste and floss in a little bag with some smiley face stickers. And he's so, so grateful that he can go back in 6 months and have his teeth checked to make sure that everything's going okay. And as he drove home, he was grateful for technology. He was grateful for computers. He was grateful for hygiene. He was grateful for everything that had happened that had changed his dentist experience since way back when Casey the Cowboy had his tooth pulled out in the horse barn with a pair of pliers. With no anesthetic. I mean, what's not to be grateful for? He was grateful that Casey the Cowboy was a part of him, and Casey the Cowboy was so brave. So brave. He was glad that he could visit his past life as Casey the Cowboy, because it gave him the appreciation for how things are so different now, and how lucky he was to be living today at this time. That night before bed, Casey brushed his teeth with his new toothbrush, and he used his mini tube of toothpaste, and he even flossed. He vowed that he was going to take care of his teeth. He'd rather not have to go through anything as crazy as Casey the Cowboy. And then Casey jumped in bed. He was tired, but he was happy his toothache had gone away. He closed his eyes and fell fast asleep that night without using his cowboy lamp. And he had the best night's sleep. The end.